probably one of our biggest, strongest common bonds that we have is food.
We like eating.
We do. I know one of our favorite comedians is Jim Gaffigan, and he talks about foodies and eaties. And I'm definitely more of an eatie. I don't really care about being too particular with it. I mostly just like to eat food and eat good food and eat my favorite foods. And Jen here's probably a little bit more picky as far as some of that stuff.
That's true.
But she deserves it because she is a little bit better cook than I am as far as that goes.
Yeah, we do like, so I do like the cooking and the baking, and he does the meat handling
And the grilling.
and the grilling.
Yes.
Because I've served some bad meat before.
She has, but she's overcome it with a lot of other things. That was probably one of our group dates we had. I remember going there, and she served some meat, and it was really well done, really tough.
And we hadn't started dating yet.
We
and
hadn't.
He still dated me knowing that my meat skills were pretty low.
She made it up with her desserts. They're really good.
He's not someone to just like outright ask somebody out before he gets to know them a little bit. So he would use excuses like, he kept borrowing my vacuum. And he's like, well, you're the only person I know with a vacuum. That cannot be true. And why don't you buy your own vacuum? But he would come over and borrow my vacuum.
I lived with a bunch of guys when I first was out here, and conveniently enough, none of us had a vacuum. And so I became friends with her, and she had one, so I'd often go over and borrow that. And because of that, we'd have some interaction.
And before we even started dating, he had built he had built a shelving unit in my garage with me, and he had pulled out 2 trees, and he'd mowed my lawn all on different weekends. And one of the weekends I was out of town actually, and he came and uprooted a tree in my new house. So I appreciate the service orientedness that Ken has there, but it's also funny that he's just not. He wouldn't be direct and be like, hey Jen, I kind of want to get to know you. He'd be like, do you need a tree pulled out of your house? And I'd be like, sure, that's great. I love that. Or can I borrow your vacuum? You bet. I'm glad you're a clean guy. So.
The biggest thing I'm attracted to her about is her characteristics as far as her personality and the way we cohesively get along. Each of us have our own little shortcomings, and one thing I think Jen does is kind of fills in the gaps of mine. She kind of makes me a little bit more of a complete person. Our personalities gel. We have just enough same and similar interests, but we also have a lot of different interests and different personalities that I think complement one another.
He is extremely thoughtful. I think that's probably the characteristic that comes out the most the longer you get to know him, is how thoughtful he is. And that he thinks about everything in detail before he does it.
Oftentimes I think she thinks she's funnier than what she is, which sometimes probably makes me laugh the most.
The thing I love about Ken is that he has these dimples that kind of show how happy he is. If he's just like smiling for the camera, you're not going to see any dimples. And then if he's like, happy, there's going to be one dimple. And if he's just really happy, there's no way he can keep those dimples from showing. They both just pop up, and you can tell that that's a real smile. He's really excited about whatever's happening. So
She always brings a smile to my face. She always has that. She of course laughs at my jokes when they're not always that funny, but I do appreciate it.
I'm so grateful that I have a good man in my life that cares for me in such a way that it's going to last forever.
Oh, the first time we kissed, it was at Jen's house, and we were just kind of cuddling on her couch after a hike that we did, and I wasn't at that time really for sure if she really liked me or not.
Me and Kent don't agree on this, because I remember us sitting on my Chase lounge and me sitting close to him just to let him know I liked him, but I wasn't making a move. I was just, being there.
I think in some ways Jen initiated it. It was one of those things. She just kind of cuddled up next to me on the couch and made comments that I didn't have to sit so far away, all that type of stuff.
Ken's view is that I was totally up in his business. He couldn't resist. It was just, I was so close that how could he not kiss me? But I remember being a lot more ladylike.
And so at that time I figured, I might as well go in for it.
But it was wonderful. It was a great first kiss, no matter what the story.
I really liked what was behind it, and I kind of liked the way we interacted with it. Something I'll definitely always remember.
So Ken and I live in different cities. I live here in Mesa, and he lives in Tucson. And that it's been like that for the majority of our relationship. And so it's tough. It's tough during the week not having him there, not being able to call on him to come over and be with us.
But those times in dating, it was definitely, could have been rough for the most part. I don't know if I would have been able to handle dating long distance like that if I hadn't known her before.
But at the same time, I think it's made us come closer together and understand what's important. And the time that we have together is very precious. We fill it with a ton of stuff and a ton of time to be together. And we really are. Like, when I drive down on Friday night, we're together from Friday until the moment I have to leave on Sunday. We are together the whole time unless we're sleeping. And we fill it with great conversations and great activities because we know that the lonely week is coming and we want to get as much as we possibly can.
During the weeks, I can say being apart has definitely been probably good for me because it really dictates how much I do miss her, how much I miss her and Eli being in part of my life. I do look forward to that. It's definitely lonely, and you go to work and you come home and nobody's there, and the house is empty, and there's not much to do. And if I'm there on a weekend by myself, it's, well, what do I do? And it's nice to have Jen and Eli who I can plan with and do some activities with to really enjoy that. Oftentimes when I'm alone, I have that reflection time to sit there and think about how much I do enjoy Jen and Eli and how much I want to be around them. And that's probably the part I really look forward to actually building that family.
I'm Eli's best friend. I'm the one he hangs out with most of the time. And even now, he's starting to choose Kent over me. He's like, why can't Kent come with us? I'm like, Kent's out of town, or Kent's not here. Why can't Kent do this with us? And he asks about Kent first thing in the morning, and he wants to spend his time with his daddy Kent, as he calls him. So
I'm sorry for mommy to get Kent.
I didn't per se pick the song. You picked the song out of a selection of songs I brought to you.
Yes, my choices were limited, but I believe it was that Ingrid Michael's son, something like
Do you
that.
remember the title?
I don't remember that.
The Way I Am. We have a really different tastes in music, as in
Mine's good and hers is okay.
His shows that he grew up as a boy in the 90s, and he's still a boy in the 90s, so those are his song selections. And mine is more varied and probably more romantic.
Well, I figured if it was that good, why change?
Okay, that's good. Kent's proposal of marriage to me was perfect and so thought out. It's just like his character and so thoughtful.
The first part was getting the ring, which I went through a friend that I know who deals with rings, and when it came down to it, we had a big controversy between whether she wanted a colored stone or if it needed to be a diamond or something else. And after some questions and going through one of her best friends and a lot of emails, we found out that we ended up getting lucky and getting a blue diamond. It's something that she really likes. But after I got that ring, that took a while, and I was like, all right, well, how do I give this to her?
A good friend of mine was in this process, and she is a horrible liar, but he got her to lie about all these little details to get me to go to Sedona for a spa day. So we went up to Sedona for a spa day, and it was really great, best massage I've ever had. And then she was like, well, let's go on a hike. And Sedona is so gorgeous. We were like, yeah, let's do it. Great opportunity. So we're going to go hike at Devil's Bridge.
She didn't know I was going. I told her I had something in Tucson I had to do that day and couldn't come up. And Emily said that her mom kind of won these spa days and that they had to go this weekend, and otherwise they're going to expire and all that. So they took full advantage of it. One of the things I found out is that Jen kind of wanted to do a more expensive massage than originally they had talked about because she thought it was free. Why not? Little did she know I was paying for it. So that was a little surprise on her end when she was upping my spa day I was paying for her.
And she was acting nervous. She was driving her parents' car, and she was like, why don't you get out here and just start hiking, and then I will come up. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So I start hiking, and I'm hiking, and I'm hiking, and hiking. And she still doesn't show up, and I get worried she's lost or I don't know what's going on. So I sit down on a rock, and we sit there. And then who comes around the corner? Kent. And I had thought that he was moving someone in Tucson. In fact, he went so far as to text me a picture of him helping move people in Tucson. So he had everything covered. So I really did think he was in Tucson moving someone.
So Jen didn't know what was going on, and Jen had started hiking, and the idea was for me to catch up to her, but Jen's got longer legs than I do and didn't realize how far she would go. And we were starting to get worried because I kept going and I didn't see Jen. But finally I turned this corner and I see this pretty little girl sitting in her little blue cardigan, just sitting on a rock, waiting, looking a little lost.
He came around the corner, and the first thing I said, my first thought was, "Are you here with the Boy Scouts?" Because that's who I think hikes, I guess, more than... Because he had this huge pack on his back. He's like, "No, this is for your birthday." And my birthday was in a few weeks, so that made sense to me. I was like, oh, this is sweet. A hike for my birthday. That is adorable. So we hiked up to Devil's Bridge, and when we got there, he had a blanket to sit on right on the ledge. And he had hot chocolate to warm me up because I get cold really easily. And he had thought of all of these things to make it a really great hike for me. And we sat there, and he had brought a jar. It's called the question jar. When we first started dating, I wanted to make the most of the time we had together. So there's this jar with questions, and some of them are super silly, and some of them are very spiritual or emotional or sensitive, trying to get to know each other. Anyway, he had stolen this jar from my house.
Didn't always like the questions in there, so I decided to pull old questions out and replace them with my own.
Questions that were specific to our relationship and our future. And so then we went through those questions, and some of them are silly, like, "Will we have a TV in our room?" Or "What kind of sports teams do I now have to pledge allegiance to?" Or some of them were serious about how we want to see raising Eli and our kids, and how we want to progress in this life. And we just stopped talking, discussed them, and had these wonderful moments together.
She asked the last question. I took that question from her, and I secretly snuck another question in the jar. I was hoping to get her to stand up and so I could get down on one knee and propose, but she was sitting there and she noticed that there was an extra question in there.
He started packing up, and I noticed there was one more question in the jar. And I said, "Kent, there's one more question." He's like, No, I don't think so. And I said, "Yes, there is." And I go to grab it, and I open it up, and there's Jennifer Joy Walker, "Will you marry me?" And of course I said yes. Immediately, I was so excited.
We tease each other about how long it took her to say yes. For me, it seemed like an eternity, and she said it right away, but we'll have to see about that.
He claims that I didn't say yes, that I paused. I don't know, maybe I was emotional and was doing it softly, but I did say yes immediately mentally. Yeah, I said yes. And then he pulled the ring out of his pocket, and he got down on one knee and gave it to me. It's perfect, just like the rest of the day was. And I think it was just such a beautiful moment that he had put all this planning and love into the situation, and it was all about us, and it was perfect.
I'm excited to actually be able to come home from work, have someone there, and to really start and share my home with and share my life with as we get to know each other and build upon each other's values and work together to raise children. And it's something that I've been looking forward to for years, and I'm happy to be doing it here with Jen.
I'm really excited about getting married to Kent. It's 6 days away, and I think that I keep getting more excited, and I feel peace and calm about it. And similar to Kent, I can't wait to just start our life together and keep building on the relationship that we've already built and share in the adventure of life together. Kent's someone that I'm excited to have by my side through the thick and thin and the fun adventures of life, and I can't wait for that to start.
That'll be great.